This is an idea that I've had for a little while for a new blank, and I finally got out into the shop and finally worked on it and put it together. And it didn't turn out as good in reality as it looked in my mind, but I haven't turned it yet, and a lot of times the ugliest blanks make the prettiest pins. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go ahead and prep this blank and get it ready to turn into a pin. I'm going to start by just squaring up the end of the blank, and from there I'll go ahead and cut the blank to length and we can begin drilling. What I have here is a 27/64 tube. This would be for a Sierra, a Monarch, or a Wall Street style pin. And you can see there's about 1/8 of an inch on the end of the blank. And I'm going to go ahead and mark this, maybe about 1/8 of an inch to the other end of the blank. And now we'll go ahead and get this cut off. And we've got our blank. Let's see if there's enough. Nah, not quite enough for a second blank, but that's okay. We only need one. And we're going to go ahead and get this cut off, and we'll get it drilled and tubed. I'm ready to drill my blank out, and this is one of the most difficult processes we're going to do because we really have got to make sure we go straight down the center of our blank. Now you'll notice I have the blank locked very high into the pin vise, and the reason why I did that is I got a little point on my bit right here, and this may be hard to see in the video, but if I line that up with the top of the line that goes down the center of the blank where the two pieces were glued together, I can move it down and I can follow it all the way down that center line, and it looks to me by eyeball that it is going to go straight down the middle of that blank. So all I've got to do is get it started right on the cut line, and I should go straight down the center. We are through the blank. Here comes the true test. You can see I went right down the center there. Where did it come out at the bottom? Oh, we're a little bit off. You can see the center line right there. I'm disappointed. I thought I had it lined up fairly well. I tried. I've heard different explanations of how you should do this. I've heard some people say you go with the V and it helps kind of guide the bit down the center. And I've heard some people say you go against the V. But I've always been nervous that it will drive the bit. You know, if you come in from, like, say the maple is soft and the walnut is hard, or vice versa, it doesn't matter which, but you'll hit the harder wood and the bit will veer. I'm super disappointed that I'm off center. Oh, that just really bummed me out tonight. But we came this far, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to tube this and get it turned. It's time for us to glue the tube into the blank. Now you'll notice just how shiny that tube is. What we're going to do is take a little sandpaper and we're just going to roll it around on the sandpaper, scratch it up really good, and we're going to give this epoxy something to stick to. And you can see now how rough it looks. I need to mix my epoxy. What I have here is a hotel door card. When you go to the hotel, you always read online that you should never leave the door card because supposedly there's information stored on the magnetic strip, and if people get a hold of it, they get your information. Is that true? I don't know, but I collect the cards, bring them home, and then I use them in my pins. What we're going to do today is we're going to use this piece as a stir stick and to spread glue onto our tube. I'm going to take a little bit of Play-Doh, one of my favorite products to use. We're just going to roll us a little ball of Play-Doh, just like you did when you were a kid. I'm going to shove it right into the end of the pin. Wipe any excess off, throw that back in the container. And now our pin is plugged, so when we insert it into the blank, we will not get any epoxy inside of our tube. Get 2 dollops of epoxy, roughly the same size, as close as you can get them. And we'll just mix them up really good. Let me grab the rest of that room card. I'm going to use that just to press it into the tube because I didn't bring my insertion tool over here. I'm going to wipe some of the epoxy right off on the, that was a mistake. Looky there, I've got epoxy inside my blank. What I'm going to do is grab a paper towel and we're going to wipe that out. There was a little bit more globbed up on the end of there than I thought. And that's what you want to avoid because that can cause you to turn an off-center pin. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe that out of a towel. We're going to roll this up, throw it away, and we'll let this dry and be ready to turn shortly. I got everything cleaned up and I got the excess epoxy out of the end of my blank. I'm just going to take a file, let me use the back end of it, and just try to force that Play-Doh out. Now what's going to happen is you can see my tube is moving a little bit. That's all right. I'm not going to worry about that because I'm just going to move it right back into the blank, just below surface. And now we have a nice clean tube from end to end, and we shouldn't have any issue at all with turning an off-center blank. I've got my blank chucked up and I'm ready to begin turning it. Earlier I think I mentioned this was maple and walnut. I don't remember whether I said that or not, but I just want to make it known that this is actually mahogany and walnut. It should turn really nicely. Take a look at the grain. The grain is still running along the blank like this. That's one of the reasons why I cut it at an angle. It's a little bit off because I cut a 30-degree angle, but for the most part it's still running with the blank. If your grain is running against the blank, it's turnable, but it's just going to take a lot more finesse to turn it. I've gotten really good here lately at turning the camera off when I want to record and on when I don't. I have a lot of footage of the blank just sitting still on the lathe, and then no footage of me finishing the turning of the blank. But I will tell you, it was extremely uneventful. Mahogany and walnut cut like hot butter, so you didn't really miss anything. Now what's cool is notice I'm right there, right down to the point, and back here I'm just a little off of the point. I really wished I could have judged that better. I don't know if there is a way to do it, but I would have liked to have pushed that tube just that much farther into the blank, which would have taken me right down to the point. That would have been cool. This blank's ready for sanding. I'm not going to sand it on camera. Sanding is finished. It's time for a little wipe with denatured alcohol. I'm going to first wipe with the grain. Walnut has quite a bit of grain in it, and it will capture a lot of dust in that grain. I mean, just look at what we've pulled off of the blank already. We'll flip this over to a clean side, and we'll go ahead and start the lathe. Now, quite honestly, I probably should have swapped these bushings out for my non-stick bushings before I did that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, we'll turn it inside out, lay it aside. I'm going to put my non-sticks on here, and then we're just going to wipe it one more time so we're ready to put a CA finish on the blank. I've got the blank between centers. These are some special UHMW turn between center bushings I made. I really like how well they work. They've got a 60-degree cone in each end, so they fit nicely on the drive and the live center. We're going to let the denatured alcohol dry. Once it all fully evaporates from the blank, we'll apply a CA finish. I just finished my CA regiment. This blank looks amazing. I couldn't be happier. What I'm doing right now is I'm watching the reflection of the light, and I'm spinning the blank, and I'm looking for any type of divot, any type of blemish, any type of grain that might cause an issue with the blank, and it looks beautiful. I can see one or two small high areas, but those will disappear as I micro mesh. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera off. We're going to go ahead and micro mesh this blank. I think I will leave it on the non-stick bushings for the micro mesh process, and at the very end we'll pull it off and square the ends of the blank prior to buffing. I'm just finishing up with the final pad. I really like to work the ninth pad for a long time, you know, because this is the one that, and this is the finest pad, but it really brings out the shine in the blank. Let's turn the lathe off and take a quick peek. Just look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We're going to very carefully remove this blank from the lathe. You can see that the nonstick bushings actually are stuck, but you can just kind of wiggle them a little bit. And look what we've got. We've got these little fingernails here, which is exactly what we want. You don't want that to break off into the blank and have a chip out of your blank. You'd rather have the fingernails. Let me show you what I'm going to do to get rid of the little extra CA on the end of this blank. I'm back over at my sanding jig, and what we're going to do is place the blank back onto the jig, and we're just going to kiss the sandpaper. And bring this over so you can get a better look at it, and take a look at the end of that blank. It's perfect. Still have a little bit of dust in there, but we'll go ahead and knock that out again with the brush, and we're ready to buff this blank. Now, I did not put Renaissance wax on this particular blank. There's not a legitimate reason why I didn't. The truth of the matter is, I simply forgot to apply the Renaissance wax. However, buffing the blank with the CA, it really brought out the shine. Just look at that reflection. It is flawless. As I rotate the blank, you don't see any divots, you don't see any imperfections. It's a gorgeous finish. Let's get this over to the assembly table and get it pressed into a kit. Let's start out by taking one more look at our blank. I'm surprised. I was a little disappointed in the beginning, but it turned out better than I could have hoped. Now, I like the little point right here, and I think that should point down so that the pin is assembled like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a bushing in the front half of the blank, and we're going to take our clip and we're going to put that on the back half. Now, I want to inspect the blank closely, and I want to look if there's a better side. I really don't think so. I think both sides look really nice. So we'll go ahead and put the clip and the cap on this side. I'm going to line it up with the seam. The trick here is just to start this thing as square as possible, which sometimes is not easy to do. We're getting a crooked start. There we go. Try to straighten that up a little bit. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble getting this one started, but I am. Before I finish it off, I'm going to pull it out of the press, and we're going to check our alignment and make sure our clip goes right down the line on the back of the blank, and it does. It looks great. Okay, we've got it now. There we are. Finish it off. Get that bushing out of there. Let's bring it back up and take another close look at it. What I'm looking for is I want to make sure I did not damage the blank when I put that cap in. It looks like I did not. I see no cracks. I see no issues. It looks like things are okay. I got really nervous there for a second when I was pressing because I was having a super hard time getting that cap started straight. Pull our little nubbin off the end of the refill. Spring on there. Right into the nib. I love how easy these Sierras are to assemble. I mean, this is really one of my favorite pens. I think the Monarch is my favorite iteration of this pen. I also like the Wall Street. Some of the like Wall Street 2, Wall Street 3s are really nice. And take a look at that. It turned out way better than I ever expected, and for that I'm happy. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This was very special for me because I made this blank from scratch, and it is always fun when you make a blank from scratch and turn it and see the final product. So I couldn't be happier. I was actually really nervous at first. I thought I drew it a little off center, and maybe I did, but looking down that pen, I think it's hard to tell. I think the pen looks fantastic. I'm super happy with it. I would like to extend an offer to you to stop over at my Patreon channel and check things out. I've been doing some posting to the general public, which means you don't have to be a Patreon to see those posts, kind of like people might do on Instagram. Photo of a pen, maybe a comment, things like that. Also, feel free to join. I do have several different tier levels, and I really would appreciate any support that you're able to give. If you can't, I completely understand. I want to thank you for joining me tonight for this turn. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon, and have a great evening.